Welcome to the deep dive, and if you're joining us, you need to buckle up. Because the Las Vegas Grand Prix, it had the lights, it had the speed, but the real story, the championship earthquake, that happened 4 hours after the checkered flag.
Oh, it was a bombshell. Just a complete shockwave through the paddock.
And today we are analyzing that shockwave, the double disqualification of both McLaren cars.
It was just this immediate, shocking reversal. I mean, we are talking about Lando Norris, who finished second, and Oscar Piastri, who was fourth. Both of them just gone, stripped of all their points.
And this wasn't some minor slap on the wrist.
No, not a fine, not a warning. This was the ultimate sanction, the big one. And it caused this massive, catastrophic swing in the championship standings.
It's just stunning. I mean, Sunday night, we're all talking about Max Verstappen's win, how clinical he was,
right,
and how Norris, he looked strong, but those last few laps were a bit weird, weren't they? He was losing 4 seconds to George Russell.
Yeah, we all thought it was fuel saving, or the tires were just gone.
Exactly. But the real reason was, well, much more technical and ultimately so much more costly than anyone imagined.
And that's where this all starts, in the fine print of the regulations.
Yeah.
The review began, what, an hour after the race?
Just an hour. The FIA's technical delegate, Joe BAUER, he kicked it off, and he was looking specifically at the wear on the skid blocks.
The plank, as everyone calls it.
Yep, the plank, on car number 4, Norris, and car number 81, Piastri.
Okay, so let's just zoom in on this for a second, because this is the critical detail.
Yeah, do it.
The skid block, or the plank, is basically this long piece of resin that runs underneath the car.
Its whole job is to measure how low the car is running.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the regulation, Article 3.5.9e, is absolutely non-negotiable on this. That plank has to be at least 9 millimeters thick at all times. No exceptions.
And this is where it gets just brutal for McLaren.
Agonizingly so. Bauer's report came back, and the margins were tiny. For Norris's car, the front right measured 8.88 millimeters. The rear right was 8.93, and the device they use, the Mitutoyo micrometer, is precise to 1,000th of a millimeter.
So wait, the infringement, the smallest part of it was 0.12 millimeters.
0.12 millimeters, that's it.
And for 0.12 millimeters, you get a double disqualification. I mean, why is that so important?
Because that's performance. Pure, unadulterated performance. If that plank is too worn, it means your car was running too low to the ground.
Which means you're maximizing the ground effect.
You're absolutely maximizing it. You're sucking that car to the track, getting way more aerodynamic load, more grip through the corners.
Yeah.
It's a massive advantage. An advantage that teams following the rules just don't have.
That ground effect is everything in this generation of cars.
It's exponential. Drop the car a fraction of a millimeter at 200 miles an hour, and the downforce just shoots up.
Yeah.
Over 60 laps, that's a huge gain. And look, this isn't a new rule. We saw something similar with Ferrari earlier this season, right?
The FIA sees this as like the absolute core of fairness in the sport.
Now that we've established why 0.12 millimeters is the difference between hero and zero, if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome to DRS Zone.
We are getting deep into the F1 technical rulebook after all this Vegas fallout.
So don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more rapid-fire analysis.
Okay, let's get back to the stewards' room drama, because as soon as those numbers came in, McLaren had to know they were in deep, deep trouble.
Oh, they knew. Once the technical delegate's report is filed, it's pretty much just procedure from there.
So they call everyone in.
Everyone. Norris, Piastri, team principal, sporting director, technical director, the whole top brass from McLaren in front of the stewards. Yeah. And the rule is just, it's stark. If you fail a measurement check, you are disqualified. End of story.
But they didn't just roll over. McLaren came in with a defense.
A pretty spirited one, yeah. They had a few key arguments about the unique circumstances in Vegas.
Okay, so what did they say?
Well, first, they pointed to the track itself. They said there were unexpected extra bumps on the new circuit.
Which, to be fair, a lot of drivers were complaining about.
They were. Second, they argued that because of the bad weather on the first day of practice, they just didn't have enough time to test and get the setup right for those bumps.
Limited data. Makes sense.
They also tried to argue that their infringement was, kind of minor compared to other technical breaches we've seen this year.
And what was the last point?
They suggested that maybe some accidental damage caused the floor to shift a tiny bit, which then caused the extra wear. So basically, it was an unintentional consequence of a rough new track.
That actually sounds pretty reasonable. I mean, it's a sympathetic case. They obviously didn't intend to break the rule.
No, and the FIA even acknowledged that.
So if the FIA admitted it was unintentional, why didn't they just, I don't know, give him a big fine or a grid drop for the next race? Are the rules really that absolute?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the FIA's answer was a hard yes.
An emphatic yes.
Their verdict basically said, look, we hear your arguments. We even agree it was probably unintentional, but the rules and decades of precedent from the highest courts in motorsport, they leave zero room for interpretation on this.
So for things like weight and measurements, there are no other penalties.
None. The sanction is mandatory. It is irrevocable. They remove all discretion to maintain the integrity of the sport.
The iron law of Formula One. Compliance is everything, and the impact on the championship is just a complete reset.
Total chaos.
Yeah.
Norris loses 18 points. Piastri loses 12.
Gone. In an instant.
It's a seismic shift. Let's just run the new numbers. Norris, he's still P1, but that lead he had, it's been slashed. He's now only ahead by 24 points.
24? That's nothing with 2 races to go.
And this is the mind-blowing part. Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri are now tied for second place. 366 points each.
Wait, they're tied.
Tied. With 58 points left on the table. We've gone from what looked like a 2-horse race to an absolutely frantic 3-way sprint to the finish line.
That changes everything. The pressure on Lando now is just immense. 1 DNF, 1 bad race in Qatar, and that lead is completely gone.
And Piastri. He was looking at a solid third in the championship, and now suddenly he's level with Max with a real, actual shot at the title. It forces a complete strategic rethink for all 3 teams.
And you can't forget about the knock-on effect on the Vegas race results themselves.
Oh, yeah. Everyone on the McLaren's just moved up 2 spots. George Russell gets bumped up to P2, which is huge for Mercedes.
But the real story of the reclassification has to be Kimi Antonelli.
Absolutely. From 7th on the road to a podium. P3. What a result for him.
Incredible. And Carlos Sainz, he finished 7th, which was a good drive, and now that becomes a really valuable P5 for Williams.
Even Alonso gets a little boost, moves up to 11th, just outside the points.
But it all feels secondary, doesn't it? This disqualification just completely overshadows everything that happened on track.
It really does.
And speaking of the track, let's just quickly rewind, because Verstappen's victory really started at turn 1.
It was a classic Max move, so clinical. He just exploited Norris's line into the first corner. Lando went a bit wide trying to defend.
And Max just slipped through. And Russell saw the gap and went with him.
Exactly. That one move put Norris down to 3rd and forced him to spend the whole race fighting back. It was the mistake that cost him the on-track win, even before the DQ.
And that move compromised Sainz too, didn't it? He had to lift.
He did. And ultimately, while the Williams was quick, it just didn't have the race pace of the Mercedes, Ferraris, or McLarens. Sainz was probably always going to end up around P7 before all this happened.
Yeah, and we saw some others struggle. Alonso had a tough day after good qualifying.
A really tough day. He dropped way down the order and complained after the race about how, in his words, unsafe the bumps in the asphalt were.
Which, you know, sort of backs up McLaren's argument to the stewards.
It gives it some credence, for sure.
So you have this perfect storm for McLaren. Lando makes a mistake at the start that costs him the win, then drives a brilliant recovery to 2nd, only for it to be completely erased by a microscopic technical issue.
That's the ultimate contradiction, isn't it? They had winning pace, they drove brilliantly, but a tenth of a millimeter of plank wear negated absolutely everything.
It's brutal. It's absolute, and it sets up a phenomenal end to the season.
It really does. The rule book is absolute, and a championship is now going to hinge on a fraction of a millimeter.
Which brings us to the big reflection point for you, for everyone listening. Given the bumpy track, given the limited testing time that McLaren cited, does the FIA's strict zero-tolerance rule actually protect the sport's integrity? Or does it end up punishing teams unfairly for circumstances that are maybe a little bit outside their control?
That's the debate, isn't it?
And that debate is going to rage all the way to Abu Dhabi.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the Vegas chaos.
If you want the fastest, most detailed analysis of F1's biggest stories, make sure you subscribe and follow the deep dive right now. We will be back next week to break down all the action from the Qatar sprint, which is now more important than ever. We'll talk to you soon.